Maggie Haberman on with Caitlin Collins. She's talking about this story. She has written with I think it's
Jonathan Swan.
Jonathan Swan, talking about how the switch from Biden to Harris left the campaign in disarray, particularly also in the wake of J.D. Vance. That quote that Donald Trump said
in the piece.
Yes, that Donald Trump said at a fundraiser. They're not calling me weird. They're calling JD weird.
Yeah, why are you asking me about that?
I don't know. It's JD's fault. Right, Don Jr.? But he's become angry. He is lashing out at people. He lashed out at Miriam Adelson, in part spurred by another super PAC funder who was pissed that Miriam Adelson set up her own PAC instead of like funding his PAC. He's pissed that Kamala Harris is getting good earned media because that's his thing. He has
and bigger crowds.
And much bigger crowds. Let's go through what I think, rather than Maggie Haberman, frankly, is more interesting to see how he's actually acting out. He posted this on Twitter that is about Harris's rally.
Or on Truth Social.
On Truth Social, I guess. Yeah, and he's just recently done. And he writes on Truth Social, has anyone noticed that Kamala cheated at the airport? Now, I saw this on Twitter and I'm like, I have absolutely no idea what he's talking about.
She was in boarding group D and she chose to board with boarding group C.
Wait, she did for your zone. There was nobody at that plane and she AI'd it. And it showed a massive crowd of so-called followers, but they didn't exist. Show the AI version. Do you have that picture? No, the un-AI'd version. I'm sorry. So he claims that this is what was the un-AI'd. I put in the two. There were two different images that were side by side in a tweet. Here it is. This is the one that he thinks was real. Pop this one up. Yeah, he sees this, and it was posted by this Jennifer Arcuri, who is some right-wing weird provocateur or something. Yeah. Everything about Kamala Harris is fake, and it looks like it. Now, what she doesn't notice is in the corner. It says satire.
A little clue there.
That's a little clue.
You'd have to. I mean, if you're Jennifer Arcuri, you might need to look up in the dictionary what the word satire means.
But who's Jennifer Arcuri? Just like, what is she? How does she self-ID?
This is the first time I've seen her.
And but apparently Trump saw this. So go back to his tweet. He saw this, as opposed to let's do the tweet of the actual crowd that was there and why he's so pissed. Sorry. This is a picture of the actual crowd. Play the video.
Turn the music down. Turn the music down.
Yeah, and they've got. that's. I don't know how many people that is. They all.
Is that the Michigan rally?
No, this is in Detroit.
Right, in Detroit.
No, this is not.
This is the one.
Detroit?
Yeah, it is. This is the Detroit one. I remember because it was under the airplane hangar.
Okay.
And there were 15,000 people here.
And so. Trump is now, go back to his tweet. He's convinced, he's seen the satire thing, and like a lot of people in MAGAville, they all believe it. And he comes back, and it showed a massive crowd of so-called followers, but they didn't exist. She was turned in by a maintenance worker at the airport when he noticed the fake crowd picture, but there was nobody there. Later confirmed by the reflection of the mirror-like finish on the vice presidential plane, which of course was
was pointed more downwards because that's how a plane curves and how a reflection would.
Who knows? She's a cheater. She had nobody waiting, and the crowd looked like 10,000 people. The same thing is happening with her fake crowd at her speeches. This is the way Democrats win elections, by cheating, and they're even worse at the ballot box. She should be disqualified because the creation of a fake image is election interference.
We played last
Anyone
week.
Who does that will cheat at anything.
We played last week. Him, or Elon Musk, who he's about to do an interview with tonight, which is why he's tweeted for the first time in 3 years. Elon Musk, in violation of the terms of service of his own website, tweeted out that AI-generated "I'm a DEI" ad by Kamala Harris that deployed an AI version of her voice on his own website. And Donald Trump's now complaining about non-usage of AI. And I've got news for him. It looks like 10,000 people, but it actually was 15,000 people, buddy.
But the fascinating thing about this is it's like clear that his aides basically said, like, you can post whatever you want on Truth Social.
Right.
Because nobody's there. It is literally just a husk of a site set up to basically, it seems like, launder money to him, or, you know, give him an embezzlement. I mean, they're burning hundreds of millions of dollars a quarter
Yes.
on that site. And it's unclear, like, what it is. You know, like, it's it's unclear to me how that would, like, unless they, it's
We
unclear
actually
to me how
had
you
David
spend-
Friedlander on of New York Magazine to talk about this last Thursday, and basically it's just because they got a public offering, and now his fans on, like, the Reddit Bro and Wall Street Bets folks are betting on DJT coin or DJT stock. It's essentially how they can show support or lack thereof, or, you know, bet on his future prospects. It's like his personal brand being traded on the stock exchange. It makes zero sense.
Makes zero sense, but also the burn rate is what I can't get. Like, how
And there
do you
should be an
spend
investigation.
$230 million in a quarter on a social media site that has already, like, been built? I just don't understand it. But nevertheless, it's going to be interesting to see if they keep him from doing that on Twitter, because when he does this on Truth Social, people just see him letting his freak flag fly, and he also threatened to sue. Do we have any, like, clip of this, or is this this is in the Maggie Haberman thing, right? He threatens to sue. Put up his tweet. Two failing New York Times reported questioned my story about a forced landing of a helicopter in a field with former mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown, and others. First of all, it was in New Jersey, not California. It was Willie Brown, not former Governor Jerry Brown. So they are as far about as accurate as they are with other stories about me. At least when I became president, the New York Times apologized to their readers in their really bad reporting on the presidential race, blah, 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 blah. Maggot Hagerman, I guess maybe she may have, like, she finally sort of, like, cashed in her chips. It feels like maybe her book, is there a book coming out, or another
Yes.
book? Is that right?
I think she does have a book coming out.
Oh, there
yes.
you go. So it's burn time. Should apologize for her fake and fraudulent writing on the Russia hoax, along with the poorly bad research stories, his willingness, dishes, blah, blah, blah. Well, it turns out it was not Willie Brown, and that it was not Jerry Brown. It turned out that it was a different politician who was black. Do we have this guy? It was the other black politician who says he was in a Trump with that near fatal chopper crash. It was former Los Angeles City Council member and State Senator Nate Holden.
Okay, close enough.
I said Willie Brown. It was Willie Black. I mean, whatever. It was black guy politician. Okay. Here is Maggie Haberman on Caitlin Collins.
But just, I want to pause quickly for a sec. So the story that supposedly Willie Brown told Trump as they were about to die in a helicopter crash about Kamala Harris, it couldn't have been. They couldn't have discussed Kamala Harris with this guy who he confused with Willie Brown, because that wouldn't have made any sense.
Well, Holden, who was from Los Angeles, could have been talking about somebody who was from San Francisco.
Could have been.
All these people.
We're about to go down. I got to get this off my chest.
Yes.
About something that happened to Willie Brown.
That's a lot.
20th on, like, the moments from yesterday's news conference, but why is he angry about this, and why is he calling you about it?
So the phone call was actually on another topic, and then in the middle of it, he started railing about this story because the New York Times and other publications wrote about the fact that Willie Brown, as you know, said it on CNN too, says this did not happen. Trump got asked about Willie Brown, and he brought up this helicopter story. And what I learned today is that Trump put this story in his 2023 book, Letters to Trump. One of the letters he included was from Willie Brown. They knew each other in the 1990s, and he referenced this alleged helicopter emergency landing. Fine. Nobody noticed noticed it at the time. His issue is with Willie Brown, who is saying that this didn't happen. But in the middle of it, he said that he has, in the middle of this phone conversation, he said they found the records and it landed in a field and, indicated that he was going to release them. And I said that I would love to see them. And he made fun of me asking that in a sort of child sing-song voice, and then said he was probably going to sue.
Oh, you'd like to see them?
Write the story, but I assume he meant the paper for writing about this.
You'd like to see them, Maggie?
Records, he should show them. What I thought was most interesting about this conversation, although certainly if he has these records, we would write about it. It'd be interesting. Was that he was focusing on this because that is what we have seen him do historically when he is in times of stress.
What do you mean in a sing-song voice? Like, you asked a question and
I really don't want to do a recreation
he
here.
repeated it back to you?
Right. It was that I asked a question and I said I would love to see the records. And it was, oh, you'd love to see the records in a sort of, in a childlike voice. So.
So this came after the New York Times wrote up about that news conference yesterday and all of the moments that happened inside of it. Part of that said, the goal of Mr. Trump's news conference was to highlight that Ms. Harris is yet to hold a news conference of her own or to give an unscripted interview to the news media.
That is what we speculated was the reason for that press conference the other day. And he was so poorly executed that it ended up biting him in the ass. Nobody came out of that going like, hey, how come Kamala Harris hasn't had a press conference? Everybody came out of that saying, why did Donald Trump do that press conference?
Well, he did it to, apparently, try to highlight that she hadn't done a news conference, but he didn't go any steps further than that because they still haven't landed on any attack line on her. He keeps, this is what's incredible. In the way that Biden would keep going back to the past and we would get so enraged about his conversations about what he did and not looking towards the future to give an agenda to the public. Trump is now doing the exact same stuff. He can't stop talking about Biden. Throughout that meandering press conference, he just goes into how they've done Biden so poorly, the Democratic Party, how they've screwed him over, how we really should be running against him, as if he cared about Biden at all beforehand. He just wanted to defeat him.
You're giving Trump no credit because he stopped talking about 2020.
He did. You're right.
So he's moved forward into the past.
Into the more recent past.
Exactly.
Into the other candidate that he's not running against, which is what must piss off these donors more than anything, is that he's not running against the person in front of him right now.
Keep playing this Haberman thing, because here's the thing that really I find just incredible about Haberman and the New York Times still, even at this point. Continue.
News comments of her own or to give an unscripted interview to the news media. Both of those things are true. We just talked to Pete Buttigieg about it, but how do they think that they achieved their goal in this?
So it's interesting, Caitlin. Yesterday was such an example of how these two campaigns, and this has been true of every campaign that I have covered going back to 2004. They are living in different bubbles. Those bubbles have gotten more divergent as partisanship has gotten worse. And as, create your own media adventures have increased, where there's, proliferation of outlets, more proliferation of partisan outlets. People can choose what information they want to believe. And so these bubbles exist, and there's these wildly different theories of the case. And so if you talk to the Harris people, their basic take was this was a gift. He said a bunch of things that we are going to be able to use. And if you talk to the Trump people, it was, generally speaking, we were really happy that he stood there for an hour and he took questions. And,
all right,
yes.
Stop this. Okay. Now, there's a reason why for Maggie Haberman, since she's been covering this in 2004, that things have remained identical, where you have these two campaigns and they're both in their own bubbles, as opposed to one bubble where the guy's talking about helicopter crashes with the wrong person who told him a story that he couldn't possibly have told about Kamala Harris, talking about AI stuff, talking all sorts of nonsense at his campaign. And another one, bubble, completely structured in the exact same way, which is just basically saying, he's insane.
He's insane.
Talking about reality. That's just a fact. We have criticism of Kamala Harris, this and that. But objectively speaking, you cannot say at 12 noon, when the sun is shining, that it is, if one bubble is saying it's midnight and the other one's saying, no, it's 12 noon, they're not both bubbles.
Right.
One is a bubble that lives in a fictional world, and the other is a bubble we call reality.
Right.
And it encompasses the other bubble, because the way you know the other bubble is out of touch is by being in touch and know what the reality is. She projects this 2004 thing. Like, one group says that John Kerry was actually, shot his own men or something and swift boated him. And another says that he didn't. They're both bubbles. No, this intense objective by the New York Times to always say everything is equal and the same, structurally at least. It's just a content holder. One happens to be reality and the other happens to be complete lies. This is the problem.
It is, but I would also say, even if you want to just talk about who's living in reality, not on the facts, but in terms of like where the campaign actually is at right now, and who's actually trying to live in reality of like creating a campaign strategy that isn't just about one guy's kind of personal sense of aggrievement and trying to win an election. You could draw some sort of parallel to 2016 in the sense that Trump was in Montana over the weekend, which is not a swing state. And he doesn't give a crap about the Senate. He's fighting for his life so that he doesn't go to jail at this point. He's going about it the wrong way, because he was going there to punish John Tester for sinking his VA pick, if you recall, as opposed to actually reckoning with the fact that he is now losing ground in every single swing state that he would need to win.
200 people there or something.
Yes, and he was going there because he has a personal vendetta against John Tester, one of the more, conservative Democrats in the Senate. But yes, the Democrats need that Senate seat to maintain a majority if Kamala Harris were to win in the fall. But do I think Donald Trump actually cares about that? No, he just cares about his personal aggrievement. And in the long term, I don't think this delivers Montana to him, especially if she continues to campaign smartly. I saw she had some nice words about tribal sovereignty when she was in Arizona and self-determination. That's the kind of language that could also play well in Montana, where there's, a significant portion of indigenous people there as well. And all you need is just not to turn Montana blue, obviously, but to maintain enough so that Tester can be that 50th vote.
Here is Trump at that really anti-Tester rally.
Exactly.
I mean, Trump is more than likely going to win Montana, although maybe maybe Trump goes there, depresses his own numbers, and helps John Tester. John Tester is a farmer, and he lost, I think it's 3 fingers on some piece of farming equipment. We interviewed him back in the day, back in 2000, I think it was 6, when he won on the Majority Report. And so Trump sort of starts to allude to that, it seems like, but thinks he's got a good joke. Incidentally, Donald Trump, this is one of those glass houses situations when I would not call Donald Trump the most fit guy.
He got out of Vietnam, I think, specifically because he's not.
His name is John Tester, and I don't speak badly about somebody's physical disability, but he's got the biggest stomach I have ever seen. I swear. I swear. That's the biggest stomach. I have never seen a stomach like that. Because he doesn't look.
Because I've never looked down.
You're not allowed to use the word fat. So if you use the word fat, you can say obese, you can say anything, but you can't say fat. That's the end of your political career. I said it the other night. Somebody in the audience said, Chris Christie is a fat pig. And I said, sir, Chris Christie is not a fat pig. You should not. And we argued about it for 3 or 4 minutes. And that was, no, he's not a fat pig. His name is.
You know what's so weird about this? Again, it's like Trump, it's almost like he's lost sight of, aside from the fact that, what are you doing in Montana?
Yeah.
You're this is, it's not like Trump is doing I'm doing 5 states a day. I can do Montana. He's doing one trip every couple of days.
Yeah.
And he's going to Montana. Maybe there's some big donor there. I don't know what it is, but
I think there was some fundraising, but people were openly questioning. It's his personal vendetta against John Tester. This is his brain is broken, and it's this myopic at this point.
And the other thing is half the people in the audience are like, who the F is Chris Christie? People don't remember Chris
No one
Christie
remembers
from
this.
Trump doesn't
years
know
ago.
why he's appealing, because
Yes.
he's really appealing because he's the business genius. It's not because he's the insulter that
I
lives
got
freak
news
out
for you.
about.
Maybe I am, but I got laughs. I mean, it's like he's lost sight
He's not connecting
of why
it
he's campaigning.
to any.
It's
Yeah.
like, they love me. Well, they might love you, but you're not really doing anything.
Right. You have to appeal to more people. I saw someone pointed this out on Twitter. It's just a little funny thing, Bradley. If we could pop this up, I just sent it. Be the party frontrunner, crush opponents in a nasty primary, be portrayed as the inevitable winner despite everyone hating you, forget to campaign in swing states, dismiss opponents' crowd size and enthusiasm, have emails hacked and leaked, picture unrelated. And it's just basically saying that Donald Trump is replicating this 2016 playbook because now his campaign got hacked, and apparently one of the parts of the hack was a 217 page dossier on JD Vance, which could literally just double as oppo for the Democrats when they were doing the vetting process.
Good thing Peter Thiel sued Gawker out of existence, so they can't release it like they did 2016.
Let's be clear. I think at this point, I can't remember where somebody tweeted this, and I recall it was Ken Vogel at Politico at that point, or I don't know where he was. I think he was. He had within a day a blog specifically on Politico that was set up to disseminate this information. Politico has been sitting on it for at least 3 or 4 weeks. It's unclear if any of it's going to get released, and everybody's saying, well, this is, let's put it this way. I would be very surprised if this new responsible form of journalism is maintained if we find out maybe it comes from a different campaign than the Republican one. I mean, this seems really stunning. This stuff last time was disseminated in more or less the same fashion, different country. Supposedly this time they're thinking it could have been the Iranian government. I also will tell you that my understanding is this is not the first time that there has been attempts by the Iranian government to do this.
They love democracy.
Over the course of the past 8 years.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating to watch. Where are all the people who are pissed about the Hunter Biden laptop? Where is everybody?
Yeah.
And I'll say I'm not pissed about that. We know about COINTELPRO because in 1971, a bunch of people broke into an FBI office, which is illegal, I would say, and stole a bunch of documents, including ones that revealed the existence of COINTELPRO. And a lot of people like to credit our media in that, and it's true that Betty Metzger, who wrote the book on this at the Washington Post, her role in this was truly heroic. But a lot of the newspapers that they wrote to or sent that information to decided we're not going to actually publish this. It's scary. J. Edgar Hoover's still alive. What are you going to do? So we cannot trust, that's why I said the thing about Gawker, and it's a shame that we can't have this stuff released, or at least there's a pressure that it might get released if the journalists sit on it, because we can't, I do not trust the editors of America's media to make decisions on this stuff. And like you said,
To arbitrate.
exactly.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.